You see, the same thing that Americans have literally, Black Americans to be specific, has literally been talking about educating immigrants, especially African immigrants, just like this one that is a Nigerian immigrant in America that just embarrassed us. The same thing that Black Americans have been saying over and over again, that you people refuse to hear, you people refuse to listen, you people just want to do what is in your mind. That is what is bringing all this nonsense. Now, let it make sense to me that you don't even know the history, the deep history of Black American culture, but you just went to go and showcase, or you want to talk because you got an award, and at the end of the day, you are just embarrassing us. You're embarrassing quiet Nigerians that have literally been here advocating for Black Americans. When I saw this video, I literally got pissed off, and you guys really know what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to start from where the problem is starting from and then coming to the annoying part of this Nigerian American apology. I don't know why these people like looking down on Black Americans. I honestly do not know what Black Americans did to you guys. I honestly do not know reason why you will not go study histories, or at least get something for someone that is born and brought up in America. Is for me, it's quite shameful for me. That's just the honest part. I'm not going to say because he's Nigeria and I will just come here and start supporting him. I don't do that. I just do things I know that, yes, this is what my conscience can literally accept me to do. But anyways, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credit belongs to the original creator of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And guys, with that being said, let's go ahead. Let me roll out the clip for you guys. It's going to be a long one, so grab your popcorn or pressure times 2, and let's dive right into this.
Who is an immigrant in America, and was America built by immigrants? Yesterday was the Grammys, and there was a strong sentiment in support of immigrants and against ICE. There was a statement that Shabuzi said yesterday that deserves some discourse.
Immigrants built this country, literally. Actually, so this is for them.
You guys remember not too long ago, Zohran Mamdani made the same statements. Now, if we're being honest and we're being pedantic, to say America was a country built by immigrants solely is a complete rewriting of history, and it's disingenuous and erases the story of Black Americans in this country. One of the sentiments I've noticed online over the past couple of years is that everyone across the world associates America with immigration, and they think nothing is indigenous to America. Like, Americans don't have food, Americans don't have culture, Americans don't have anything that is unique to here. And they don't do that for any of the other countries in the Americas, whether it be the Caribbean or South America. And I understand why that is. It's because American hegemony has ran the world for the last century. And with that, American culture and American story has become synonymous with pop culture. So people don't feel the need to divulge and dig deeper. There is no reality that anyone who is a descendant of those formerly enslaved Black Americans in America could be an immigrant. We are the product of forced migration to the New World, and we are one of the foundational Americans. I said previously that the only foundational Americans when this country was created are Black Americans, Native Americans, and those original European descendants. Anyone that came later is an immigrant. Immigration and immigration means leaving a country voluntarily to move and settle somewhere else, whether it be permanently or with their hope of returning home. None of the countries in Africa existed when the slave trade was going on. So no one in the Americas could be an immigrant by definition. We have been in America prior to the inception of America being a country. I say that to say that doesn't erase immigrants from the story of America, because those Chinese and Japanese immigrants that came here helped expanded America westward, and without them, that wouldn't have occurred. The subsequent European migration that happened through Ellis Island helped develop all the major cities like Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, New York. Without our Filipino and Caribbean aunties, we wouldn't have any nurses to take care of us. Without our Mexican and Central American compadres working in the farms, we wouldn't have access to food the way that we do have it, or tend your gardens, or tend your home. So there's so many things that add to the story of America, and immigrants are definitely at the core of the American system, the American story, and American history. But when we're telling that history, we have to tell it correctly, because no Black American will be offended by you saying immigrants definitely developed this country. They developed the country alongside Black people, but at its foundation, for centuries before immigrants came, Black people were here forcibly free labor forcibly. They helped develop these Fortune 500 companies, from cotton and tobacco farms forcibly. All those other immigrants that came at least got paid. Whether they were paid pennies to on a dollar, they were still paid, and they were never slaves. So when it comes to telling history correctly, especially during Black History Month, we have to say things correctly. And it's not a dig. I know what he meant, but a lot of people don't know what he meant, because I've seen comments saying, well, how are Black Americans not immigrants? You can't be immigrants in a country you were forced to come to. In the same way that Black Americans aren't immigrants, you would never call a Brazilian an immigrant, a Jamaican an immigrant, a Haitian an immigrant, a Dominican an immigrant. But for some reason, you guys can't seem to grasp that Black Americans are the same exact descendants of those who exist in the Caribbean and exist in South America. Happy Black History Month.
Hello, I am an immigrant, and we did not build this country. In case you guys missed the Grammys last night, Shabuzi won an award. He won a Grammy. Amazing. This was actually not during the main ceremony that we watched on CBS. This was during the pre-show. And in his speech, he was very emotional. He was crying. Beautiful. He said that immigrants built this country. And that is where people are having issues, because it's simply not true. Can we say that immigrants contribute to this nation? Absolutely. Can we say something like immigrants are an integral part of the society through their contributions to not just society, but culture, as well as their labor? Of course. We say that this land, similar to Billie Eilish, nobody's illegal on stolen land. Factual. But when we say things like immigrants built this country, it honestly is erasure of the contributions of Black Americans and their ancestors who were brought to America by force and then in turn built this nation through their free labor. That is what built this country. I think it's amazing that celebrities are using these major stages and platforms to speak out against ICE and speak up and advocate for immigrants. But I also think that language and verbiage is so important, especially in this day and age where we have people who are actively trying to erase Black history specifically. And I remember, like, during the conversation, it was around the time where like book bans started to happen. And I don't remember where this came from. Somebody backed me up on this, where somebody, or like a politician or someone, was trying to say that like slaves immigrated to this nation or something like that. So while we have something like that actively happening, it is important that we say the right things. And I also want to repeat that this is no shade to Shabuzi. Like, I know what we were getting at here, but I feel like the sentences that we put together, we got to put them together in the right way. It's just like we need to make sure that history is acknowledged and Black Americans and their contributions are not erased. Like, we have to make sure that we do that, especially as immigrants in this nation who are benefiting from the work of their ancestors for us to even be here. So, thank y'all.
Immigrants built this country. If you're new here, my name is EP, your Black American guide to all things Black American history, culture, and conversation all year long. What some people may not know is this idea that immigrants built this country and the idea of the American dream didn't start with TikTok conversation, but it's been happening for quite some time now. It was historically weaponized against Black American people as a way to dismantle their case around things such as reparations. In 1965, James Baldwin had a debate against William Buckley centering a very similar topic. Baldwin argued that the idea of the American dream, or America being the land of opportunity, came at the expense of the American Negro, or in today's terms, Black American and or African American.
Not an overstatement. I picked the cotton, and I carried it to market, and I built the railroad under someone else's whip for nothing. The Southern oligarchy, which has until today so much power in Washington, and therefore some power in the world, was created by my labor and my sweat, and the violation of my women and the murder of my children.
But Buckley, on the other hand, his argument was no, because my grandparents worked in this country too. And he used that argument as a way to support his stance that Black Americans' experience in this country wasn't enough to fully support the laws and policies that uplifted civil rights only.
This is a capitalization that was not created exclusively as a result of Negro travail. My great-grandparents worked too. Presumably yours worked also. I don't know of anything that has ever been created without the expense of something.
In this debate, James Baldwin didn't undermine the contributions of other people or how the United States exploited cheap labor, but rather he emphasized and highlighted who built this country, because he knew that the U.S. has historically used the American dream at the expense of Native American and Black American people. So now what? Where do we go from here? Black History Month was originally started to address real issues. And as Black people in America, sometimes we're going to have uncomfortable conversations. We are human. Say it with me. We are human. Just because we're all black doesn't mean that we're going to know everything about one another. And while we are learning things about one another and learning things about our first and second generation cousins and learning things about Black American people who have been on this land for hundreds of years, it's going to take for us to be mindful of the language that we use, because our progress in America is going to depend on it.
Shabuzi done started a whole diaspora war with his Grammys acceptance speech, and then made a post to clarify what he meant in that speech and made it worse. If you happen to miss it, Shabuzi said in his acceptance speech that immigrants built this country. Now, he's since posted this message after receiving backlash from Black Americans saying that Black Americans actually built this country. And in his response, he basically says that he was just trying to honor his parents who came from Nigeria and made a way for him, and that he also respects and is grateful for all the Black folks who came before him. Now, I don't want to speak specifically to Shabuzi's Grammys acceptance speech or the statement that he put out, but I do want to speak to why I believe that there's so much tension between people who are born to Black American parents and people who are born to Black non-American parents. As someone who is a child of both a Black American parent and a non-American Black parent, Jamaican Black parent, I can say that I think a lot of the root of the issue is that people who migrate here have these misconceptions about Black American folks that are rooted in misinformation. A lot of non-American Black folks come over to this country with the idea that American Black folks are lazy or they don't want to work hard enough, and that if they've come over here from another country and they're able to succeed, that Black Americans are just not doing enough. And there's a lot of context that is missing. Number one is that systemic racism and Black oppression looks totally different in America than in most of the countries that people migrate from. And the only real way for you to know that is to know the history and the context to which Black people have existed in America. The other thing is that the curriculums used abroad tends to be more rigorous than the curriculum we use in America. And education is based on class in other countries. So not everybody is able to access an education. And the people who are migrating over to America are people who are fortunate enough to be able to access an education where they're originally from. So in most situations, you coming over here means that you had access to a really strong education, and that allows you to be successful when you get here, versus Black American folks don't have the same level of access to education. And we know that a lot of the communities where Black people exist are underfunded. The people who lack access to education in the countries that people migrate from are not able to migrate here. They're not able to. So it doesn't really, it's oranges to apples. Anyway, I hate these diaspora wars.
I would say immigrants built this country.
Here we go.
Actually, so this is for them. For all children of immigrants, this is also for those who came to this country in search of better opportunity to be a part of a nation that promised freedom for all and equal opportunity to everyone willing to work for it. Thank you for bringing your culture, your music, your stories, and your traditions here. You give America color. I love y'all so much. Thank you.
Immigrants did not build the United States of America. Shabuzi talking about, oh, thank you for bringing your culture and your music. Shabuzi does country music. Country music was founded, discovered, and created by Black American people. Shabuzi, from what I know, is an African man. I believe he's Nigerian. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know for sure he's African. And over in Africa, why couldn't you pop in Africa? If y'all built this country, how did you know that there was any place to come to? You contradicted yourself, Shabuzi, by saying, oh, we were able to come here to seek better opportunity. That's because the country and the opportunity was already here because of Black Americans. I think it's so disrespectful. We already have to deal with whitewashing. The whitewashing of our history. A lot of our intellectual properties, our inventions, our ideas, and everything has been stolen by white people. And now we are subjected to it being stolen by immigrants. And I don't agree with this. And y'all want us to just shut the fuck up and sit down and let y'all do this and then holler out we're xenophobic when we say that we're separate from you all. And this is why. It's because y'all are trying to ethnically erase us. It's another form of colonization. And we're not going. We're not going. First, the mayor, Damdi, whoever the fuck, from New York, got up there and said immigrants built New York City. Now Shabuzi is saying immigrants built this country. How did immigrants build this country? And then in the same breath, you say, we came here for better opportunity. If this was a docile land with nothing on it, no infrastructure, no buildings, no culture, nothing, why would you come here? Before you even wanted to travel here or even think of an American dream, you, Shabuzi, with your super pigmented skin, you had to see Black Americans already doing it and accomplishing the dream to give you something to even look forward to, as well as every other immigrant that is not just a straight up Caucasian. And y'all hijacking the civil rights movement, talking about, oh, civil rights, we deserve civil rights. First of all, if you are illegal, you cannot go to any other country and be an illegal citizen, an illegal immigrant, and then feel entitled and demand that the natives, the people that's on the land allow you to steal their culture, and while feed it back to them, sell it back to them, and make it seem like they have absolutely nothing to do with it. This is very disrespectful. And if y'all don't see what's happening, because we've been fed the lie that we need to be so super inclusive when these people, especially over on the continent of Africa, are very tribal. They fight with each other. A Yoruba cannot go to an Igbo and say, I created Igbo. I created the foods that y'all eat. I'm in control of the language. That's not happening. They kicking each other out of the African countries over in Africa. Go and do some research. But yet they come here and they try to discredit Black Americans. They try to discredit chattel slavery. They try to discredit the fact that us, along with some of the pilgrims before the Ellis Islanders even came over here, when the conquistadors and all of them, we were the ones that was the labor force. Black American people, indigenous American people, y'all was calling African American, whatever which way you want to turn the key, was the first labor force in the United States of America. We built all of this. Now, I'm not saying that y'all didn't come here and add, but if you walk into a house that's already built, did you build a house or did you maybe reinstall a light bulb? Did you create the electricity? Did you build the toilet or did you plunge the toilet when it was stopped up? Did you paint the house or did you repair the paint once the paint started chipping? Did you lay the wood or did you repair the wood or the tile that was on the floor that needed to be replaced? I'm so sick of this. It's like recolonization. And like y'all literally are trying to erase us. And I get it. ICE is a thing. Y'all are fighting. We're going real hard for people that's illegal, which I don't understand that either. Now, I could see if they literally was just out there assembling for a task force, just rounding up Latinos, Hispanics, Africans, Caribbeans, Eurasians, Europeans. I would understand that. But the ICE force is literally an agency that's enforcing immigration laws. They're not just rounding people up. Y'all comparing them to slave catchers and doing all of these other things, like trying to literally co-opt and colonize our history to make it fit your narrative. And it's disrespectful. It is utterly disrespectful. Immigrants did not build the United States of America. Black Americans did. Y'all wouldn't have been, like I said, you wouldn't have been able to come over here in search of a better nothing if it wasn't already better over here. What y'all think about this? It's getting to a point. They're trying to rewrite history. They're acting like white people at this point. They're acting like oppressive ass white people. They keep saying we, Black Americans or FBA in particular, are white supremacists. No, immigrants got this immigrant superiority complex and they're trying to erase us. At least the white man will get up here and acknowledge the fact that we fucking contributed to this country. Y'all acting like we don't even fucking exist. And I'm not going for it. Now, you could get up in the comments and pop it and be mad and offended. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Because if all it takes is for y'all to bring y'all culture and make the world more colorful, then your own country should be lit up like a Christmas tree. If all you got to do is just work so hard, your own country, y'all all work hard, should be lit up like a Christmas tree. I love some African people. I love some Latino people. I love some Swedish people. I love people, some Asian people. I love all types of people. As a collective, though, the ones that's talking for y'all, that's getting up on these podiums, that's getting up on world stages, are trying to erase me and my ethnicity and my lineage, and I'm not going for it. It's disrespectful. Spread love is the Brooklyn way. What y'all think?
Yesterday was the first day of Black History Month. It was also Grammys night, and Shabuzi, if you don't know him, he is a country singer, son of Nigerian immigrants, and in my opinion, someone who already has a very questionable stance when it comes to blackness based off of who I've seen in his videos, who I've seen him hanging around in the media, and just the fact that he goes by Shabuzi, because I guess that's what white people started calling him instead, because they couldn't pronounce his name, Shabuzi. Yeah, weird. But anyway, he won a Grammy, he got on stage, gave his acceptance speech, and in his acceptance speech, he said, "Immigrants built this country." Now, this isn't a statement or belief that is unique to him. It's one that I've heard from many different people when they're speaking out against ICE, against these detention centers, or just speaking up in general for immigrants. I'm someone that has half Black American ancestry, half Black ancestry from a whole nother country. I was born in that country. Depending on who you ask, I may very well be considered technically an immigrant. Regardless, I feel like it's given me a very unique perspective on both sides when it comes to a lot of these different diaspora conversations that we have. And as someone with that experience of having a foot in both realms, the statement of immigrants built this country needs to stop and be erased from everybody's vernacular. Full stop. It is disingenuous, it is incorrect, and it contributes to the erasure of not only Black American history in general in this country, but also the history of chattel slavery in this country, which has already been just so egregiously whitewashed and destroyed. And, you know, the topic of slavery is something that, when you really think about it, we have only been taught just the tip of the iceberg about. So there's so much that we already just don't know about how heinous it truly was. Unfortunately, no matter how many times you guys keep telling this lie, immigrants did not build this country. Enslaved Black people built this country. They were forced to build this country by colonizers after those same colonizers successfully committed the genocide and removal of the indigenous people who were already here, already had their own thriving customs and nations and tribes. Most people who make that statement of saying immigrants built this country are almost never talking about Black Americans. It's just a fact. They're usually referring to other races and ethnicities when they say that. But there are a small percentage of people who really do truly mean to include Black Americans when they say immigrants built this country. And so I think it's so important to be clear that our ancestors were not immigrants. They did not come here seeking a better life because they were troubled in their homelands or whatnot. No, they were kidnapped and they were human trafficked to this country. Slavery was the first major industry in this country. That's a fact. We were the capital in capitalism. That is a fact. So much so that slave owners literally took out insurance policies on enslaved people. They were accepted as collateral for loans at these major banks. Most of these banks today that you see, they were active participants in slavery. JP Morgan Chase, look into that history. These Ivy League universities, and I'm sure many other, they were some of the biggest, most active participants in the slave trade. You take a look at the origins of so many of these different industries, these institutions, these systems in this country, and you'll find that they were able to grow so large and successful because of Black Americans, because of the fact that these people stole our ancestors' labor. These are things that don't get taught to 99.9% of us in school. They will never get taught to you in school unless you take some specialized African American studies later on in higher education. I really feel like a big reason for the widespread adoption of this mentality of, instead of telling the truth, saying that immigrants built this country, is because to most people, it is a lot more palatable than simply saying Black people built this country. That's something that is never going to come out of a lot of people's mouths because they are anti-Black. To me, it's nearly the same as the whole POC issue when that started to become a thing, that term, POC, people of color. Because then I feel like the mentality was, oh, we got this thing, this term we can use that's more inclusive, and we don't really have to say Black. Like, we don't have to, oh, Black. It's so taboo to say. Because then it started turning into a thing where people will literally be looking at an entire group of Black students or Black artists, and they'll still say POC students, POC artists, and it's like, no, we're Black. There's nothing wrong with saying Black. It's not taboo. Words mean things. Words carry weight. Words carry power. It's important to call things exactly what they are, because that is how things start to become whitewashed. I wholeheartedly hate ICE. I hate that there are people that support ICE and these institutions. I hate that people really believe that something like that has a place anywhere in the world, not just this country. And if I said what I believe should happen to those types of people, my account would be banned, and yeah. But with all that being said, you still cannot rewrite and adopt yourself into Black American culture, customs, and history. There are so many different ways that you can speak up for and support one marginalized group of people without needing to discredit and trample on the accomplishments and contributions of another, because it's just not true when we rewrite history like that, especially because of the fact that most of the immigrants that people today are referring to when they say the statement that immigrants built America are not even the same immigrants that were truly around during the time period that the United States was becoming the nation that it is during its birth. Prior to the 1940s, 50s, 60s, for sure, 90% of the immigrants that came here were white Europeans who took full advantage of the foundation that Black Americans had set just to turn around and actively contribute to our oppression. Now, when we are talking about the immigrants of today, who majority are not white, that most people are referring to, who face the racial profiling and the abuse by ICE and these other systems, majority of these groups of people did not come to the United States till like after the 1950s and 60s, and they have absolutely made phenomenal contributions to the United States. They have maintained this country. It is not crazy to say that at all. They have maintained the United States, but they did not build the United States. Words 100% mean things. When you spread this narrative, you are contributing to the erasure of Black history, and that is a form of anti-Blackness, whether it is intentional or not. That's just a fact. And so let's continue to uplift and support these communities by telling the truth.
Shabuzi's under fire because at the Grammys, he dedicated his award to his immigrant mother who came from Nigeria, proceeded to say that immigrants built this nation, and dedicated his award to immigrants and the children of immigrants. Now the Black community is going after him, saying that that's Black erasure because this country was, in fact, built on the backs of enslaved people. But then I started thinking, enslaved people were forced to migrate into this country. Therefore, by definition, your ancestors would be immigrants. But upon doing my research, by social contract, according to historians, scholars, and linguistics, no. So I kept searching because that doesn't sit right to me. Why, by social construct, would you dismiss that these people migrated into the United States, even if they were forced to, because they didn't come here by choice? And this is where my heart broke. It states that the reason why enslaved people are not considered immigrants is because they were brought into this country as property. And this goes down a fine line of systemic oppression and Black erasure. Because systemically, if we continue to say that your family were our property, we follow the route that these scholars keep to say it and deny the fact that you were immigrants. It does erase the horrible stuff that happened to your ancestors. And the reason I'm making this video is because I know I'm not the only one that thought that enslaved people were also immigrants or considered your ancestors immigrants, because to me they were never property, they were human. But to those people, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And I've come across a few videos where people are like, oh my god, the Black community is just looking to be offended. But in all reality, it's not an offense. It is Black erasure. Enslaved people helped build this country. Their owners didn't do shit. And we tend to forget that because that happened in the 1700s, 1800s. And mass migration from other countries into the United States started happening in the late 1800s. That's during the time that slavery should have already been abolished. People were coming to work here because there was no more slaves. And that's when the quote-unquote American dream was a thing. This was definitely not a rabbit hole that I was trying to go down to this morning.
Shabuzi, you effed up. That acceptance speech was trash. And on the first day of Black History Month, so happy Black History Month, everybody. But yeah, no.
A bitch, nigga, that's that shit I don't like. No. Sneak this up, that's that shit I don't like.
We love the immigrant community, how people have continuously come into this country, added value, added so much to just what America is. America is, it's nothing without immigrants, and that's a fact, period, right? But it was so callous and careless and disrespectful to, as you receive that award, credit immigrants rather than Black Americans, or at least our ancestors, for the sacrifice that they were forced to make with their bodies because they weren't immigrants. They were brought here against their will. And it is upon their work, their everything, that this society functions today. That's where the wealth began. That's how this country was founded. It was founded on the backs of Black slaves. And there's this other part to it that
bothers me because the other part to it is that as a Nigerian American man, it seems like that's how you identify, first and foremost. I don't see a lot of tribute to the Black cultural roots of country music, because Black Americans, like our ancestors, also started that. Yeah, that was also us. So it just felt very, very, I can't say tactless. I don't believe that this was an accident. It felt more like a slight. And as someone who is neurodivergent, I can pick up on a slight. And it was, you know, I've tried to film this so many times because I genuinely do not want to be divisive. But like, come on. You have got to be kidding me. I'm just like, I'm not surprised. I'm just like, the audacity. The audacity. So, yeah. That's the post, because I am irritated and I'm trying to make a habit of not getting out of character on this app. So I'm going to keep it cute and end.
Immigrants did not build America. Slaves and their descendants, Black Americans, built America, like quite literally with their hands, okay? Let me explain to you the issue with Shabuzi's Grammy speech. Let me start by saying that immigrants have greatly enriched this country, okay? We would not be where we are without them. However, they did not build America. And I think this is such an important distinction to make during Black History Month, because the comment, immigrants built America, is rooted in the erasure of Black contribution, okay? Specifically, Black American contribution, however involuntary it was. I understand that Shabuzi was coming from a good place when he said that immigrants built this country, but historically and factually, it is incorrect, baby. Chattel slavery built this country, and it is important to recognize that. People don't want to talk about slavery, but the reality is that slavery and the cotton economy is what gave America its legs, baby. There would be no America without slavery. The enrichment that is immigration did not come until significantly after slavery, right? Slavery dates back to the 1600s, girl, okay? All the way until 1865, where we get the Emancipation Proclamation. And even after this point, there were some Black people who were still being held captive as slaves because they just didn't get the news yet, girl, okay? So when you think about that, how long slavery spanned, okay? And the fact that we get ushered into Reconstruction and Jim Crow, and slaves are now repurposed as sharecroppers, right? Or repurposed into roles in which they are only good for service. They are only good for, you know, functional positions that help prop up the country, not actual careers, not anything actually profitable. Like literally, Black people simply migrated from slavery into something else until we get into the civil rights era. For the people who think that we're arguing semantics, not only is this an important distinction to make so that we are recounting American history and Black history accurately, but also because the suppression of Black history, the erasure of Black history, okay, is what leads to the repetition of these atrocities, not on Black bodies, but onto others. And this idea that Black history and American history, when it repeats, that it's going to repeat with the same people, it does not. It does not. And I think we're seeing a little bit of the proof, but that will never, ever, ever change the fact that the biggest and greatest group affected by American history, affected by the American plight, and that actually built America is Black American descendants of slaves.
I do not know who Shabuzi is, but apparently he is a country singer who just won a Grammy. with some white man. I don't know who that person is either. I don't know these people, Chad. And during his Grammy acceptance speech, he said something along the lines of, immigrants built this nation, basically giving a shout out to his Nigerian parents who moved to America and birthed him in America, giving him the opportunity for him to be able to maximize his career in music. And of course, the internet went on a frenzy. Everybody named Mama in the black community is dragging the shit out of him. Somebody said, claiming immigrants built this country on the first day of Black History Month after profiting from Black American culture and a genre you didn't create is intentional disrespect. Black Americans are the only group here by force, not choice, not here seeking a better life or opportunities. Erasing the fact is a clear example of immigrant supremacy. Now, I've also read a whole lot of commentaries, backlash about this acceptance speech, and I'm going to be honest and say that I agree. But I will say this, though. I don't think Shabuzi meant this to be intentionally disrespectful. I think he said all that considering the nature of what's going on with immigration right now, with ICE deporting a whole lot of people. Also, the fact that he is a child of Nigerian immigrants. I feel like he felt the need to use his voice as an American citizen who is being recognized in America to share and talk about the plights that a lot of immigrants are going through right now. However, I will still say that in as much as this was not intentionally disrespectful, this is still very hurtful because, like I've always mentioned before, Black Americans do not get enough credit at all. I've said this so many times. Black Americans historically have come up with so many things that have been stolen from them with no credit whatsoever and still continue to get marginalized till today. This is even more hurtful to a lot of Black Americans because this is coming from a child of a Nigerian. I'm not trying to sow the seed of division, but I'm also keeping it real. Like I said before, 2026, fuck everybody. The truth is that a lot of Black Americans feel very disrespected by a lot of African immigrants, especially Nigerian immigrants, including Caribbean immigrants, who for some reason do not recognize that a lot of the privilege that they're able to tap into in America is as a result of the Black American sacrifice. Even I can see how that could be hurtful. The fact that a child of a Nigerian immigrant is able to come to America or be born in America and capitalize off of that privilege that Black Americans' ancestors worked hard for and sacrificed their life for and did not bother to give them credit, considering the fact that Black Americans do not get enough credit in anything in America, that's got to be painful. I think accountability is definitely very important so that this mistake does not repeat itself. But at the same time, too, I recommend grace because I don't think this was intentional disrespect. But I also don't think this grace is coming, Chad, because I think a lot of the reasons why a lot of Black Americans are very upset is because of the nature of what's going on in America right now. Capitalism is cracking and the average American is becoming a lot more uncomfortable. There's way too much tension, too much insecurity, too much uncertainty going on in America right now. The sins of the fathers are catching up with the children. Chad, this war is coming.
And another thing about Shabuzi getting up there flapping his gums talking about immigrants built America. I want to know what y'all mean by built. Because when foundational Black Americans say that they are the foundation of this country, they're not just talking about building the White House or, Seneca Village or Black Wall Street or any other things that we built in this country. Like physical structures. We're not just talking about the physical structures. Foundational means we built the civil rights that you're using to come over here now. Black Americans built the country that you were able to come to take advantage of. Because I guarantee you, if I go to one of them countries that y'all say I look like so much, they not giving me shit. But when you come here, you can take advantage of all of our systems. Why? Because of my ancestors. Because of us. And then to turn around, get successful in our country, and then say, well, we built it all along. It was immigrants that built it. It's a slap in the face. It really is. And the way that y'all refuse to see the disrespect, I don't believe that you don't refuse. I believe that you know what you're saying. I believe every immigrant that says immigrants built America, while bypassing Black Americans, know exactly what they're doing. And it is direct disrespect to Black Americans in this country and our ancestors and everything that we've accomplished, because you wouldn't even be able to be here to say that had it not been for us. And that's what we need to understand is Black History Month. Black History Month is about Black American history. And if you want to participate in Black American history as an immigrant, that's what you need to do. If you want to participate in Black History Month, you need to be learning about Black American history all month long. Participate by boning up on the things and accomplishments of Black Americans. So you can stop being ignorant and say ignorant things that inadvertently or on purpose disrespect us. Because, come on, we're done with this. It's the big 2-6. We're done with this. Once again, happy Black History Month. But the reason why Shabuzi is having such backlash and him having to pretty much double down on what he said in regards to his Grammy speech Sunday of immigrants built this country is because Black Americans are not anti-immigrant, but we are anti-immigrants being anti-Black American, telling us who we are, what they built, trying to erase us, what culture we don't have. That bullshit stops this year. And it should have been stopped years back, but hell, we can't cry over spilled milk, and it shouldn't just start and stop on Black History Month or Juneteenth. It should be all year round, moving forward. We need to stop as Black Americans, because partially it is our fault because they the same skin tone or complexion or similar facial features. Oh, they are brothers and sisters, but those same brothers and sisters will sit here and come in your country talking about we built this shit. Ain't no we. You are a guest. And for that, you should show respect. That's not to say you got to kiss the ring or kiss our feet, but you don't come in somebody else's country wagging your finger the same way that colonizers wag their fingers at you. You built this country, but you couldn't even build up your own country. That's what baffles me. And the contradiction of it, how you built the country, but you came here for a better life. See, the thing is, they know that Black Americans built this country. They know that people during the civil rights movement era helped them come over here, because white folks didn't want their ass over here. But because we are so you invited to the cookout type of mentality, they started to get entitled. They started to get entitled, and they started to feel like we supposed to be kissing their feet in our own homeland. Hell no. Yes, did immigrants contributed what was already built? But just because you done put some walls up on a house, that doesn't mean that. My bad, I had got a phone call. But like I was saying, you can be the wall, but if the foundation of that house is us, we can tear the walls down, build new walls up. But guess what? The foundation is still there, which is us. It's not going anywhere. It's seeped in the ground. This is why we call ourselves foundational Black American, which is the same thing as if you call yourself Soul-On Black American. It's just the same thing. But the word foundational makes it tight so people can't cosplay in it and sit here and get on the stage talking about what the hell they built. But for the people that call Black Americans FBA, Soul-On, whatever, and say that we're divisive and we're this, we're that, if what we were saying was just straight bullshit, they wouldn't care, because we'll be trolling amongst each other. Just like how they say Tariq Nasheed is a cult leader. But because they know for a fact, but they don't want you to know that what he's saying is facts, that's why they always try to discredit him. Oh, he was a pimp. He's a cult leader. He's a scammer. Yada, yada, yada. He can't control grown-ass people. We was already feeling like this. He just had the platform and the money to do stuff like museums and documentaries. And for us, we use social media to get our voices out. And Black people, stop letting Black immigrants or immigrants in general call you xenophobic, to gaslight you, to pretty much make you afraid to stand up for your own lineage. They don't do it for they don't do it to their lineage, so why should you do it to yours? Stop being scary. Don't let nobody bully you out your own damn home. Trying to abuse us or get us out the same way that the colonizers did to them. For the Black immigrants or immigrants in general that stick up for us or that's for us, we salute y'all, but don't sit here and wag your finger at us if you're not going to call out the people that's within your community.
All right, let me say that real quick about the Shabuse dude. So, it's just crazy how folks come over here to our land seeking a better opportunity. Then when they get over here, all they do is claim where they came from. Why you didn't do that there? Why you didn't stay there and do it? Because how in the same breath you going to say immigrants came over here seeking a better life, seeking opportunity, and in the same breath say that immigrants created this country? How can you create something that you went to seeking a better life? Make it make sense. Bro, we been doing music. We been the pioneers of music. All genres. Y'all didn't come over here and build nothing. I know you're not talking about the infrastructure, because that was built off the black backs of so-called black people from slavery. Free labor. Land stolen. Redlining. Jim Crow. Civil rights movement is the reason you was able to come over here. But y'all built where they do that at? See, that's why y'all got to leave, and that's why we got to delineate from y'all. And that's why we got to stop supporting y'all and only support ourselves. And for all you black Americans that don't understand how serious this is, they're erasing our history from your children. Your children gonna grow up thinking that immigrants built this country, not knowing that their ancestors built this country. And what that does is it puts something in your child that is missing. They don't have confidence. They don't feel like they are something big, which they are, something huge. Our ancestry, and we're the descendants of these ancestors, these very strong, powerful, God-like people. You hear me? So yeah, so-called black Americans, it's very serious for somebody that blew up off black Americans. We was the ones that supported his music. We was the ones that blew him up on TikTok, sharing his music, fucking with the shit. Then you turn around and you shout out to the immigrants. So it's very important. So like I said, man, y'all make sure y'all supporting your people, your so-called black Americans. Support their music. Put them in a position where they can get up there on stage and shout out the indigenous and start spitting some truth. Anyway, man, check out my song right here. This shit called Royalty. My brother was saying to do.
Y'all are not giving me any breaks during my birthday week. Shabuzi has now posted a statement regarding his Grammy speech from Sunday. First and foremost, I want to express my deep gratitude to everyone who has supported and celebrated my journey as an artist. I also want to acknowledge the conversation surrounding my acceptance speech. To be clear, I know and believe that we black people have also built this country. My words were never intended to dismiss that truth. I am both a black man and the son of Nigerian immigrants, and in the overwhelming moment of winning my first Grammy, my focus was on honoring the sacrifices my parents made by coming to this country to give me and my siblings opportunities they never had. At the same time, winning this award on the first day of Black History Month and becoming the first black man to win Best Country Duo is Black History. It stands on the foundation laid by generations of black people who fought, sacrificed, and succeeded long before me. This moment belongs to all of us. My entire career has been rooted in lifting people up, honoring where we come from, and expanding what's possible. I am proud to be part of this legacy, and I intend to continue doing that work for the rest of my life. With love, Shubuezi. I'm glad that he apologized, but he left out the black American part. That's the main thing people talked about. Again, not my apology to accept. That's for black Americans. They decide. He posted the apology on Twitter, but made it a story post on Instagram. Y'all can share your thoughts in the comments. If you're being disrespectful and starting an argument, you will be blocked. We don't tolerate any xenophobia on either fronts over here.
Shabuzi's acceptance speech at the Grammys has sparked a lot of conversation, some of it manufactured outrage, but some of it good conversation. And this is his response statement that he just posted. And while we always say impact will never outweigh intent, I really think that this is a perfect example of how you can acknowledge the conversation, acknowledge people's feelings while also clarifying what you meant and not necessarily walking back what you said, because you know your intention is in the right place. And I'm someone who likes to always just generally assume positive intent. So reading this statement reflects to me someone who saw the conversation happening on social media, took a moment to receive the conversation, to receive what people who were responding to him with good intent, as opposed to manufactured outrage and wanting to clearly spark diaspora wars. He received the feedback from those people who articulated why what he said was off base, because I think we all understand that Black Americans, African Americans, American descendants of slaves are not immigrants. They're absolutely not immigrants. They were trafficked in this country, their intellectual labor as well as their physical labor stolen for hundreds of years and used to build this country. And what immigrants did was build on top of that, helped this country grow and expanded that growth. But to blanketly state that immigrants built America is wrong. And we understand this rhetoric. We've seen an uptick in it. Mamdani recently said the same thing at his inauguration. Why did I say it like that? Mamdani recently said the same thing at his inauguration, and we understand the sentiment behind that is to speak to everything that is currently going on in this administration and the unconstitutional targeting of American citizens and the violence that is happening towards the immigrant community in this country, whether you are undocumented or are here legally. And so I actually really appreciate this statement from Shabuzi, and I'm glad that he took a moment to write this and reflect, but also is not apologizing or walking back on what he said. And I think that is really important because this speaks to he received the feedback, but this response is one that is sincere instead of just placating people, which would come off as an empty apology. And so you have people who are going to be upset with what he said regardless, but this is not for them. So thumbs up to Shabuzi. And of course, he would release this statement as soon as I posted my video about this on YouTube. But anyways, go and check that out.
Shabuzi is a coon and a clown, okay? And anybody that's trying to push this narrative that immigrants built America, quite frankly, you need your ass whooped. And it's really that serious. It really is. I don't want to hear, oh, it's not that deep. Yes, it is. And people keep saying, oh, he had good intentions. We knew he meant well, this, that, and the third. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I don't think anybody that's pushing that narrative means well. They all know what they're doing. All right? But it is blatant disrespect and erasure of the ancestors of Black Americans, enslaved Africans, and also indigenous people. All right? America was already an empire before immigrants came here, willingly. All right? It already was. That's why people want to be here, because of what enslaved Africans and indigenous people did, the work they put in. Y'all gonna stop that. Cut it out. All right, I understand, with the current political climate, that there's a lot of focus on immigrants and, whether or not they belong here, this, that, and the third, but we're not doing that. Y'all are not about to disrespect my people like that at all.
So this statement from Shabuzi, in response to his pathetic Grammy speech or whatever, is full of crap. And the reason I say this statement is full of crap is because you can't give someone in Ghana or everyone in Ghana credit for what happened in Haiti. You can't say we Black people over here in Ghana fought for Haitian independence and we won it. We fought, bled, and died. No, you can't say that because it's not true, right? So the same thing here in this statement. He cannot say we Black people have also built this country when his forefathers his parents are, and respectfully, from Nigeria. And I don't have any problem with Nigeria. Nigeria will not give credit. Let's say something major happened in Nigeria for 400 years. They're not going to say Liberians or Kenyans did it. Just because we are all the same racial in the racial category. We're all African. So we all did it. No, the flip, you didn't. It's the people who were right there in Nigeria. They did it. Okay? They did it. They're the majority. They did it. Okay? Yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna hear Jamaica saying Namibians fought, bled, and died for our country. Okay? Because we're all the same racial category. That's a lie. Okay? That's a lie. He, for some reason, is not saying ethnic Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, Black Americans. He knows how to differentiate. You want to know why I know how he knows how to differentiate? Because he clearly said his parents were from Nigeria. That's how he knows how to differentiate. Okay? All this bull crap of they know how to split something up when they know how to split something up. And I'm not being mean or rude or anything. It's the truth, okay? It's not, no, we're all Black and we all bled and died. No, the flip, we didn't. Black Americans, the original Black Americans, ethnic Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, bled, fought, and died for this country. That's who did it. So he can shove this statement because it's pathetic. And on Black History Month, absolutely no respect.
Oh, Shabuzi. Oh my God, why did you do that? Why did you do that, bro? Why? It's like we take 5 steps forward and 50 steps backwards. Actually, it's 5 steps forward and 500 steps backward. Bro, why? So, for those of y'all who don't know, Shabuzi, the artist, damn, bro. He went on the Grammy stage. He won a Grammy this weekend. I don't remember what Grammy he won because I didn't watch the Grammys. I just saw the clip of him and his speech and the discourse that's been going around about what he said in his speech. So in his speech, Shabuzi talked about how, well, the main thing is Shabuzi in his speech said, immigrants built this country. And that has sent everybody in an uproar. Bernice King has put out a statement. Folks is giving him lashings, and now we have re-entered into diaspora wars. The one thing that I hate more than anything is that one of the things I hate more than anything is diaspora wars, bro. But here we are. So let's talk about it. So first of all, many people know this because of my name, but just to be very clear, my family is from Nigeria. My parents were born in Nigeria. My mom was raised here. My dad came here for college. He went to Howard. And then, but me, I was born here, born and raised in the U.S. So I am Nigerian American. If you didn't know by my name, I am Nigerian American. I am not Black American. I am not a descendant of slaves. I am not foundational Black American. I am Black by race, Nigerian American culturally. Cool. Now, let's just say the loud part out. Let's just say the quiet part out loud or the loud part out loud. Immigrants did not build this country, okay? Black Americans, slaves built this country, okay? Black Americans and slaves are not immigrants because while they originated from Africa, they were stolen and forcefully removed from their homeland and brought to America. So they are not immigrants. And 98% of immigrants chose to come here. And I say 98% because there is a small percentage of immigrants who they had to come to the U.S. They also were sent over to the U.S. They were forced to be here, whatever. But, or they wanted to be here and then they were sent over here by family, whatever. But the vast majority of immigrants chose to be here. Black Americans and slaves did not choose to be here, so they are not immigrants. All right. So like I said, immigrants didn't build this country. Black Americans were forced to build this country. What Shabuzi should have said was, and I'm not here to say what he might have meant or what he wanted to say, because I'm not in his brain and I'm not going to speak for nobody, especially not no man. So I can't tell you what I think he may have wanted to say. I'm going to tell you what he should have said. What he should have said was, immigrants are integral to the functioning of this country, because that is a true statement. Case in point, a major ice storm just hit the East Coast. I live in the DMV. The roads look like ass. The roads look like ass to the point where they are starting to create and prepare the students to go back to distance learning, because the kids can't get to school in Prince George's County, in Montgomery County, in most of Maryland, and most of DC. The kids can't get to school safely. So they literally just had a press conference to where the superintendent of Prince George's County said he is preparing to re-implement distance learning, because this ice that's on this ground, it's going to take hot rain or sun beaming to melt this shit. There's no tractor trailer that's going to be able to, get it up. And going back to my original point, the reason why these roads look like this is because a lot of the people who are in charge of taking care of the roads, shoveling the ice, were immigrants. It was immigrants who was doing a lot of this stuff. Latinx folks that was doing a lot of this stuff. But ICE came and sent them all, deported them back home. So there's nobody that was really able or willing to do the work, because most of the workforce was kicked out, right? Okay. So again, like I said, immigrants are integral to running this country. That is a true statement, right? And even not just with the ice storm, immigrants work in a lot of nursing homes, take care of the elderly, right? They do a lot of the food stuff in terms of, serving food. They work in hotels. Like they do a lot in this country, right? Not just, again, like the small, like labor that a lot of people, not small, but a lot of labor people don't want to do, but just in general, immigrants are important to this country, just like foundational, like Black Americans are important to this country, just like Native Americans are important to this country, just like Asians are important. This country is the United States is a melting pot that relies on a lot of people from a lot of places to run the country. Now, again, the problem with the statement that Shabuzi made is that in saying immigrants built this country, it erases the forced labor and hard work that Black Americans have done and continue to do to make this country what it is today. And it's already hard enough for Black Americans that white people brought them here, forced them to do the work, and then took the credit and still take the credit. But then I recognize and I understand, especially again as somebody who has Nigerian ancestry, I recognize that because of racism and white people, there is a pitting up of Black Americans and Africans against one another. And this is perpetuated by black people, some Black people, and Africans as well, right? I don't do that shit because I think that shit is stupid. And at the end of the day, I recognize what I am, what I'm made up of, but I'm still Black. I'm Black and Black and Black. So you could pit us up against each other all day long. The police pull me over. They ain't gonna say, "Oh, what kind of Black are you? Are you a Nigerian Black? Are you a Sierra Leone Black? Are you a Jamaican Black? Are you a Haitian Black?" No, I'm Black, and I'm gonna be treated like a regular Black American. But I digress. So again, because of the threat, because it is a threat, because of the threat of Black Americans and Africans uniting, a lot of rhetoric and a lot of things are done to cause a divide in our communities and to continue to remind us of like the things that have been said and the rhetoric that's been spewed by people within the community. So again, a lot of times you'll see a lot of Africans saying things like, "Oh, you've been here for so long. Why is it that, Africans can come here and they excel or they exceed so easily? Well, it's because of white people and racism. It's because of that. Because again, they know that you as an African, or they try to make you feel like as an African that you are better than a Black American. And because of your name and because of your culture, they try to make you feel like, oh, you have more home training, or you have, more to offer than a Black American who also has a lot to offer, right? And so when those type of statements are made, it then pulls us back from all the work that we've done to try to unite as a people. Because again, then it like I said, it erases what Black Americans and their ancestors have done in order to build this country, which is the correct statement. Is that Black Americans, slaves, built this country. And without the forced labor of Black Americans and slaves, the United States of North America would not be what it is today. And lastly, what I'll say is, to conclude this, I recognize that with the times that we're in right now, everybody wants to speak out against the mass deportations and the unfair treatment in ICE. And I think that we should speak out about it, especially celebrities, because a lot of y'all ain't been saying shit. So you need to speak and keep speaking, right? But let's also not do the opposite while trying to, or let's not bring ourselves backwards while trying to help the country progress forward. Because I'm tired, y'all. I'm tired. Every time we fight, I'm tired.
When we say you people should listen to history very well, when we say you people should study history very well, especially as influencers, as celebrities, as people that are going to be taking some award, you will not listen. You will just go to the stage and fumble. Let it make sense to me that you are getting a Grammy award and the only thing you can say is immigrants built this country. How did immigrants build America? How did immigrants build America? Because that is why I will not stop bringing videos like that on this channel. Because I find out that a lot of people do not understand the struggles of Black Americans. They do not understand that there are people that are called the indigenous Black Americans, foundational Black Americans. They do not understand that there are people already in America living life, inventing things, doing things even before the arrival of the Europeans. Even when the Europeans came, scattered everything, changed narrative, there were people in America. Even when they came and started bringing slaves, importing slaves from east, west, north, and south, there were people in America. And that is why I will literally never debate or accept anybody telling me that why are Americans not associating themselves with African Americans? Why are Americans not allowing themselves to be tagged African American? One lady did her DNA and traced back her history. She even noticed that her parents were usually not from Africa. They are from India. So you coming here and saying it loud that America is built by immigrants, honestly, I don't know where you get that from, bro. You fall my hand as in Nigeria. Honestly, in fact, you just scattered the work I'm trying to do. And that is why I will not stop preaching until a lot of you guys understand, especially African influencers, Nigerian influencers, because you are the one that is dragging our name to the mud, as far as I'm concerned. Now, let's even pause on that end and go to the apology that he literally wrote, because he found out that, okay, a lot of people were coming, and for the fact he's actually, I love the fact that he have to put out an apology there. But the apology, you did not still acknowledge the people. It was not acknowledged. You did not still acknowledge these people's sweats. You did not still acknowledge the people that has been suffering. You did not still acknowledge the indigenous. It is not fair. It is not. Immigrants never built America. You know, it is because of this illustration of immigrants build America. That's why you literally see every single person can wake up one morning and say, oh, Black Americans are lazy. Black Americans do not have food. Black Americans do not have culture. Black Americans do not have music. Black Americans do not have tradition. In fact, Black Americans do not have where to go. Because of that mindset that you people have literally grown up with, and of which, as far as I'm concerned, there were people in America. America was not built by immigrants. check your invention, check music, check hip-hop, check jazz, check rap, you notice that American people actually started it and we stole it, we took it, recreate it, and then we now lie to ourselves that we were the inventors. I did an invention videos, a lot of things that Black Americans invented, and it was wow. It was a whole lot. So a lot of histories has just been, people just went ahead, recreate, rewrite histories, and at the end of the day, people are making look as if Black Americans do not have anything to offer. They have a lot of things. In fact, they are still offering it and they will continue to offer. So the earlier you realize that this is what American, all influencers, all celebrities, you need to realize and acknowledge their struggles, the better for each and every one of us. This is just me giving my 2 cents, my own opinionistic opinion. If you think I'm not right, let me know in the comment section. I'm not saying that everything I'm saying is right, but there are things I know they are very, 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 very correct. Immigrants never built American. Immigrants has never, in fact, they have never and they will never. Americans have been existing. Americans have been building. Americans have been living even before the arrival of slavery, Jim Crow, whatsoever that actually took place. Get your history correct, okay? But anyways, credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do it, subscribe, like this video, drop in your comments, and lastly, do not forget to share. And yes, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I say in my videos, I'm going to be seeing, but I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah. Disclaimers, educational purposes only, okay?